Okay, good day, class. So we'll start our discussion. So, hindi yun sa akin pabala. Okay, so maragiusan na ako nino. Last meeting and then supposedly gagahapon karon di Friday nga lesson. Okay, so I hope mas ma-compress na to. So I'll start with the introduction. So definition, history, and application of electronics. So let's pretend na we care about history of electronics. And then, common electronics components, ako na nang ipakita sa inyo in actual and naka-try na pod mo o lab, no? During our first laboratory. Solid state fundamentals, insulator, conductor, and semiconductor, and sa difference aning upat, tulo. And then, asa ta mag-focus as we progress in our discussion. Let me check my microphone lang. Okay, so to start with the definition of electronics, yun yung electronics. So this is the branch of science that deals with the study of flow and control of electrons and the study of their behaviors and effects in vacuums, gases, and semiconductors. So actually, ang the 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 quant class, the movement, no, of electrons actually creates electricity. So muna siya ang foundation sa electrical. Pero here in our electronics na discussion, we are going to be focusing on small mga direct current lang. So kanang makapaon lang sa atong LED, makapaon lang sa atong microcontroller. So we're not gonna deal with kanang mga large voltages. Pero the idea is the same, no? We are going to be studying the flow of electrons. And ang control nga part is later na nato na um, ma-discuss, no, during the diode, I think, next meeting. So anong kanus ata in a way maka-control sa flow of electrons. Okay? So let's discuss sa history lang na very briefly. Three key components of history of electronics is the vacuum tube, the transistor, and then the integrated circuit. So, ipakita na ako ni sa inyo ang transistor. Pero actually, the start of invention of transistor, di pa gid ato no kagamay. Okay? So, in early 1700s sa class, there are already developments, mga discoveries, no, sa study sa electronics. But it's only in 1883 when Thomas Edison discovered that electrons pala will flow from one metal conductor to another through vacuum. And because of this discovery ni Edison, in 1904, si John Fleming applied the Edison effect in inventing the two-element electron tube called the vacuum tube. So, diri gyud nag-start ang creation or development yun sa microelectronics. Katong na-create na ang vacuum tube. And then 2 years later, Lee De Forest developed a three-element tube called the vacuum triode. No? This was the real beginning of electronics. Kasi nga na yung mga itsura sa una, no? So, think of this as part of, kung wala ni siya napagamay good over the years, class 1. So, dako kay tag mga cellphone. Dili na siguro ganyan cellphone ang tawag, di ba? So, that's why sa una, dagko kay mga components, mga computers, even hard drives, nga mag-store og data sa atong paano sa computer nga dagko na jud kay computer sa una nya to think nga mga MB ra to sila kilobytes pa gani. Okay, so the development nga natay kuan karon kanang cellphone nga nipis na kay sa nga tanan, it's because it started from this discovery and invention. So in 1997, Marconi invented radio, which was the primary form of education and entertainment. Then 20 years later, dito na din na-create ang transistor na yun, no? Invented by John Bardeen, Walter Brattain, and William Shockley in Bell Laboratory. So if you're an electronics engineering student or electronics engineers, kani nga mga inventors, medyo crucial ni sila sa um, development sa electronics. Then in 1958, Jack Kilby of Texas Instruments demonstrated the first integrated circuits. Muna na nga ang imuhang IC nga consist of, from the word integrated circuit ba, isa na siya ka-chip, pero daghan kay siya circuit inside. Okay? Okay, applications of electronics. So the 21st century rely on electronics. Actually, di naman siguro tama, boy. Di na ako ka-imagine class of a world without electronics. Okay, dependent tingin kita sa electronics. Electronic technology is employed in the field of industry. So I remember when I was working in Cebu for a Japanese manufacturing company, no, mag-create og mga inductors, capacitors, ana. Ang mga machine dito, of course, electronics na tanan. Okay, kung, of course, na mga mechanical, pero it's more on electronic mechanical na combination. So, dili na gyud di na gyud mo thrive ang isa ka business or company without electronics. Communication, okay? Ato ang cellphones, okay? Military, so kanang mga drones na sila karon gani kay na mga drones nga motira na gid og mga kuan, di ba? Gina-employ na nila nga ang drones na sunod ang mahimong mo attack na, di ba? So ang development murag exponential jud kayo ang advancement sa technology ba. Entertainment, okay? Education, kung wala electronics, wala tay kini palandaan online class na to. Okay, dili ta maka create or maka og other means to learn kung wala po ang electronics. Transportation na, number one. Agriculture, medical field. So, daga na kayo sa agriculture, I can recall na ay news before. Siguro study, mas ito nga ako nabasahan nga. Ang mga drones na po ang mag-water sa mga plants, no? For the entire farm. So, na-replace na gyud in some ways ang task sa human ba, no? By technology. Medical field, of course. Dili na ko mulayo no, sa akong major sa Master's Biomedical Engineering. So, gamit yung electronics for assistive devices, to create, ano man, to create mga devices nga example ka na um, maka-read og heartbeat. Ana. And then mga prenatal nga mga devices that will help pregnant women and so on. Okay, so actually everywhere you go, sa asa ka muling na electronics class. So it's hard to imagine a world without electronics na yun. Okay, so these are the common electronic components. Already shown you some of these. So mo lang giingon kan. Familiar naman sa resistor, capacitor, inductor. Wala ko inductor. I haven't shown you this, pero this is an example of inductor. Diode, LED. LED is one type of diode. Transistor, we have IC. Mo lang giingon. Daghag different kinds of IC class na yung mga 6 legs lang, na yung mga 12, na yung mga 16. So, ingani siya. If you read the data sheet sa mga IC, and if you see or if you check the circuit inside, daghan na ka na siya circuit inside. Okay, nasa tayo relay, nasa tayo battery. So there are many electronic components, but these are the most common ones. Okay, so ato na karon class, balik sa pinakagamay o pinaka-importante na part sa atong study sa electronics, which is the atom. Okay? So, ato ta sa Bohr model. Actually, kining nakita ninyo that this is the Bohr model. So, ato sa taon sa maning atom. First, we know that atom is the smallest particle that retains the characteristics of an element. So, if you recall sa chemistry, we have 118 known elements, and they have each of them has a unique atomic structure. So the Bohr model class proposed by Niels Bohr is often referred to as what they call the planetary model, similar to the way planets orbit the sun in our solar system. So it's as if kining nucleus ng mo ang sun, and then the electrons orbiting around the nucleus, murag mao ni sila ang planets. Okay, so this is what you call the Bohr model. So as you can see, the figure shows a central nucleus. Kini siya na. Yung nucleus class, just a review, so yung chemistry, it's composed of protons, positively charged, na, positively charged, and then neutrons, which is from the word neutral siya, dili siya positive, dili siya negative. And it is surrounded by the orbiting electron. So kaning mga electrons nga naay mga nga nag-orbit no around ay nga sa iyang shell lang niya around the nucleus. Okay? So nata example dito. So tanang class, tanang elements, no, except your hydrogen. Isa ra gyud ang hydrogen lang nalahi sa tanan, no. Kay wala siya neutron. Okay? Ang yang nucleus is composed only of proton. and then electron. So, hydrogen atom, di ba number one, one siya sa periodic table of elements. So, if you can recall, kana siya nga number sa imong periodic table, that indicates your number of protons and then your number of electrons, which are equal. Okay? And then, actually, mo po na mong number of neutrons, nga naa sa mong nucleus. So, say, ato ta sa helium helium is number 2 na siya sa imong periodic table. So, you will have 2 protons. Okay, kanang 2 protons, 2 ka positive. And then, duha ka neutron. Sorry, duha ka electron. Okay. Pero na siya duha ka neutron. Nakauban sa proton nimo sa nucleus. So, tanang element, ingana ang iyang characteristic. Except your hydrogen. Ang hydrogen ra ang walay neutron. Okay? Pero na-apply gyapon sa hydrogen ang law nga the number 1 indicates 1 proton, okay? And then 1 electron. Wala na difference, pero dili gid na siya vital sa itong discussion. Ako lang gi-emphasize. Alright, so as I've mentioned, class, all elements are arranged in the periodic table based sa ilang atomic number, di ba? And this atomic number indicates the number of protons, which is also equal to the number of electrons. Now, the atom has a net charge of 0. Net charge of 0, why? Because kung nahay the same number of protons, which are positively charged, and then the same number of electrons, which are negatively charged, kung imo nang i-plus ang iyang charges, of course, ayang net charge will be 0. Alright, so, ato dire, mo niya itong gikuan ganito ang helium. Okay, ang helium, number 2. And then, nasa tayo example dire, silicon, for example. Silicon has an atomic number of 14. Okay? So, that means, ang imuhang silicon has 14 neutrons, 14 protons, nya ka na siya, ga-combine sa isa ka nucleus. And then, 14 electrons po, nag-orbit around the nucleus. Okay. Tingnan ako man next bit lang na. Okay, so let's go to electrons and shells. And why is this important? Later, makakita na ito. Ano importante ni nga concept. Okay. So, di ba class natin mga electrons na mag-orbit around your nucleus? Okay, and they reside in different shells na ay shell nga closer sa nucleus, nasa shell nga farther or far from the nucleus, okay? And the electrons of class near the nucleus have less energy than those in more distant orbits. Why is this so? So you can think of this as kung ang imong nucleus is nasa tong ano, and then your electrons closer to the nucleus, less the yung energy kay ang nucleus nimo kung pwede nimo siya nanaon mo siya gravity ba? Okay, the closer you are to the nucleus, the stronger ang force of gravity, kumbaga. So, ang mga electrons di ay nga duol sa nucleus, dili kay sila kaambag or wala kay sila energy to move, kumbaga. Okay? So, compared lang relatively, comparing to those electrons which are more distant from the nucleus. Okay? So a given atom has a fixed number of shells per class where each shell has a fixed maximum number of electrons. So, dili po siya ingon nga random lang po ang pag-arrange sa electrons. Nagyan po siya gina-follow nga structure class. So, ihunahuna lang ninyo niya concept, no? Bear in mind lang niya concept because when we know how many electrons reside in what shell, we know pila ka electrons ang possible nga mo jump from one to another. Okay, kay naman tayo concept nga, the further you are from the nucleus, the more energy you have. Okay, kay medyo less attached na ka sa nucleus ba. Okay, so balik to diri sa fixed number of shells. Now, in an atom, different elements will have fixed number of shells, depende sa yung atomic number. And then, each shell, nasad kay mga maximum number of electrons, nga pwede rasad magpuyo dito na shell. Okay, so unsa na nato na pag-solve? So the maximum number of electrons class sa isa ka shell class is given by this formula. Okay? So is equal to 2n squared where n class is the number of shell. So for example, sa shell number 1, which is the closest to the nucleus, ang imong number of maximum number of electrons ng class is 2 times 1 squared, so 2. So meaning kung sobra ang imong electrons, yung more than 2 siya, 2 ra gyud ang pwede mo reside sa first shell. Ang second nga shell, dito na mo reside ang ubang electrons, or kung more than pa gyud pa siya sa maximum, ma-distribute na siya to different shells, okay? So second shell, ang maximum niya nga ma-hold nga electron is 2 times 2 squared, so that would be 8. Sa third shell, 2 times 3 squared is equal to 18. Muna yung maximum nga ma-hold. So, tanaw na to class ang mag-example tag mga elements. Okay, for example, I have here, this is 14, no? So this is actually a silicon atom. Okay, so as I mentioned, silicon atom has 14. Ay, ang atomic number is 14, so it has 14 protons, 14 neutrons. So muna na siya nucleus diri yung 14p, 14n. Okay, and then it has 14 ka-electrons, pero giunsa ka siya pag-distribute. Dili na to magamit itong formula class, sa maximum number of electrons. So ato sang tan-awon class, ang max sa 1, sa shell number 1 is 2. If you see this column here, ang max sa shell number 2 is 8. Ang max sa shell number 3 is 18. So itong tan-awon, sa 14 ka electrons sa silicon glass, ma-occupy niya, ma-maximize niya ang first shell. Of course, na kay 2. So meaning sa imong 14 ka electrons, 12 na lang ang nabilin. Okay? I hope you're following. So sa second shell, pila ka ang ma-hold? Maximum 8. Of course, ma-maximize gyapon na niya. Kay 12 man itong nabilin kay kanina. So, na kay 8, ma-maximize niya. So karon pila na lang karon ang nabilin? Ang nabilin na lang is 4, no? From the 14 electrons. Kaya na-maximize man yung first shell, second shell. Karon sa third shell, 18 ang maximum. So of course, dira na magpuyo ang imong 4 ka electrons. Okay, wala naman dayon siya sobra, 4 na lang. Okay, pasabot ani maximum ra, dili pasabot nga mao gini dapat ang i-occupy. Mao lang ni ang kaya ma-hold nga number of electrons sa kaning nga shell. So in this case, ang imuhang third shell di ay karon sa silicon has only 4. Again ha, first shell na maximize niya 2. Second shell na maximize niya po niya 8. A total of 10 electrons. So nakay sobra nga 4, naa na siya sa third shell. Okay, how about germanium? Ako taning si tour sa inyo class, pero since online class nita karon, so practice na ako na wala kita ani. So germanium class has 32 electrons. So how do we solve that? How do we saan ito pagkabalo ang distribution sa electrons and pila siya ka number of shells? Okay, so first shell, mao ni yung max sa kada shell. So 2, yes, 2, maximize gyapon niya. Second shell, ma-maximize gyapon niya. Third shell, ma-maximize gyapon niya. Because that would just be a total of 28. Kaning tulo. Okay, and then nana po siya sobra nga upat class. So kaning upat, naala siya sa fourth shell. Yang fourth shell nimo, it can hold a maximum of 32 electrons. Okay, so muna siya, no? That's how we distribute. That's how we know the distribution of electrons of a particular atom or a particular element. Okay, let's go to this valence electrons nga term. Okay, so natin mga ginatawag pod class, natin mga terminologies involving the shells present in our atom. So, kaning outermost shell class sa ato ang silicon or sa ato ang atom is what you call the valence shell. So, maskin pag third shell na siya, first shell, fourth shell, basta kay mauna siya imong outermost shell sa imong atom. That's what you call valence shell. Okay? So, balik ta karon. Ang silicon nimo, ang pinaka-last niya nga shell is shell number 3. Okay? So, karon ang tawag nato sa shell number 3 for silicon is the valence shell. Pero dili all the time, class, nga ang third shell nimo is what you call the valence shell. Example, germanium. Germanium has 4 shells. Okay? So karon ang valence shell di ay sa germanium is the fourth shell. Kaya siya man ang pinakalayo. This is the outermost shell of your germanium atom. Okay? So again, dili necessary nga kung shell number 3 ang valence shell sa isa, maupod sa isa ka atom. Basta kay mo tong outermost shell. Okay? So karon kabalo natin sa term sa outermost shell sa isa ka atom. So what you call the valence shell. Unsa po'y tawag karon sa imong electrons nga ga-reside ana nga shell? Dali na po di class. That's what you call the valence electrons. Okay? Valence electron. Dapuyo sa valence shell. So valence electrons are electrons that reside in the outermost shell. Okay? So many class say relationship ano di ay with the previous concept that we have learned. Kani ding mga valence electrons because they reside in the outermost shell which is the valence shell. Sila day ang pinaka taasog energy. Nga naman, kay di ba nga atong concept ganina, kung nagkalayo ka sa nucleus, nagka-higher mo energy, murag nagka-less attached ka. Kay the closer you are to the nucleus, the less energy you have. Kay attached mo kay sa imong nucleus, sa core. So meaning kining electrons that are in the orbits farther from the nucleus have higher energy. Meaning to say, kining valence electrons nato, comparing to your other electrons present in that same atom, they have the highest energy and they are less tightly bound to the atom. So meaning, kini mga valence electrons, they have the potential class to jump from one atom to another and create what we call the electricity na dayon. Okay? And kining valence electrons class po, they also contribute, aside from potentially creating an electricity. They contribute to chemical reactions and also they determine the electrical properties po of a certain atom. Dili man po tanang atom kay tanang valence electrons niya kay able to jump from one atom to another and create electricity. Ginabi ito yung mga atom class nga dili makakandak og electricity. Okay? So muna itong discussion as we go along sa tuwang discussion. Okay, karon class. We know that the valence electrons are electrons that have the highest energy sa isang ka-atom, no? Unsaon mo po nato pag-trigger ani nga valence electrons para maka-jump sila from one atom to another? This is where ionization energy comes into play, class. Because if a valence electron acquires a sufficient amount of energy, this is what we call ionization energy. It can escape from the outer shell. Okay? Nganong gusto mo na to siya escape? Kay katulad akong gingon, gusto ta mo jump ang imong electron from one atom to another and create electron flow. So it needs to have an ionization energy. In reality class, unsa man ning ionization energy? Pwede ni siya ma-acquire sa imong electrons if there's enough heat. Okay? Asa man nigi ka ng heat? Kung mag-apply ta og voltage sa isa ka circuit. Kung ma-apply ta og voltage sa isa ka circuit, murag atong gi-trigger ang mga electrons to jump from one to another and create electron flow. Okay? So this is what you call ionization, the process of losing a valence electron. So kung mawala na karon ang valence electron class because it acquires na karon, di ba, a sufficient amount of energy, called the ionization energy. So nag-ionize na siya. It will escape from its valence shell. So once na-escape na siya, dili na po siya gitawag na itong valence electron. Kaya wala naman siya sa valence shell. We now call it a free electron. Kumbaga, free na siya. Okay, free na siya to do whatever it wants.